Hello, my name is Chandani Prasad. This is for Communications 101, and my cultural topic will be on indoor gardening. And this is my note card. Can you imagine a life where your home is your grocery store? Well, maybe that's overdoing it or doesn't really cover every one of your household needs, but in a world that's mostly reliant on outside sources like grocery stores or fast food chains, more people are becoming curious about indoor gardening. It may seem as simple as a hobby, but indoor gardening is growing in popularity as a means for self-sustainability. Today I'll be talking about how I indoor garden and its benefits. More specifically, I will be listing 3 methods that I use to indoor garden and the rewards that add value to our lives. As an indoor gardener, I have found 3 methods that are effective for a good harvest. 1 by water propagation, 2 by eggshells, and 3 by an AeroGarden, which is a hydroponic system. First, I garden indoors through water propagation. I do this with my house plants or vegetable scraps, vegetables that I use regularly. I place them in water around the house in recycled jugs, especially because those can add up when you're buying things like milk and ice cream. This is my favorite way to garden because you get to see the growth actually happen 24/7 rather than in a pot of soil where you have to wait a few weeks for the sprouts to grow. Secondly, I use eggshells. If I use them for a meal, I usually take the shells, rinse them out, fill them with dirt and seeds to ensure germinating seeds. They're also very good for fertilization in the soil, so that's basically a way that you can recycle the whole egg, which is good. Right now I'm currently planting lavender, arugula, and onions, so they'll be ready to be transferred soon into a pot. And lastly, I use an AeroGarden. You've probably heard about these systems online or through TV, but it is a hydroponic system which is very similar to water propagation. Basically, you grow your plants in water rather than soil. I usually refer to this method as the cat of gardening because they're very low maintenance and independent. And a fun little fact, I actually have a pod from a previous AeroGarden that used to be the runt. I placed it in a different AeroGarden, and now it's grown to its max capacity with about 12 tomatoes on it. It's being held by a fork and tape, so that's kind of entertaining. So these are the best ways that I've found to garden indoors. Now let's touch on the rewards to indoor gardening. There are many rewards to indoor gardening that we don't initially think about. We may think it's solely to produce food, but it's actually about self-sustainability and overall health. Growing your own food can be empowering. We usually live our lives by budgeting and creating plans to feel secure, but growing our own food can take a lot of that stress off of our minds. We also become less reliant on grocery stores and processed foods, but this is usually for people that want to make a drastic change in their diet or lifestyle. Now, years ago, gardening would have sounded like a chore, but now I wake up with joy each day to see the progress of all my plants. The current events of today have forced me to stop and slow down. I find that tending to my plants has really reduced anxiety and stress, and it's really given me a purpose that my other hobbies don't. Material items don't multiply unless you go physically buy them, and they aren't gratifying after they've stopped working. Growing your own produce and building your life around produce and producing your own food can be boundless as long as you know what you want to grow. So today I've talked to you about my methods of gardening and its rewards through self-sustainability and overall health. I know we aren't ready to break up with our favorite restaurants right now, but I hope that this has instilled a curiosity in all of you for indoor gardening and a more independent life.